him and Mike Green after the second practice were like the meme of Jack Harlow and Drewski in the car with the music on. And they're like, life like this sure is sweet, huh? As they pulled out of Mobile, Alabama, they said, fuck this.
That is perfect. Welcome to the opening bell of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. I'm Trevor Sikkema, that is Connor Rogers, joining you guys for one of our favorite episodes that we have all year long. Shrine Bowl and Senior Bowl practices are wrapped up. That means it's time to give you guys a mock draft. Encapsulate all of our thoughts that we saw on the ground at Shrine Bowl practices, at Senior Bowl practices, in everybody's favorite form. But we're giving you the extra round, of course, because we want to talk about more of these guys. So it is a 2-round mock draft here today. Connor, how you doing, my friend?
Good, man. Fresh off getting home from the Senior Bowl. We got
Must
a
be
lot.
Nice.
Yeah, sorry,
Must
buddy.
be nice.
I don't mean to rub it in. It's tough. If it makes you feel better, it's the whole trade-off of, do I want to wake up in my bed, but I'm also getting in the door after 1 a.m. And yes, the trade-off is worth it every single time. But
Thanks.
we have
Great. Yeah. Good,
so
good.
you screwed
I
up.
thought you were gonna give me a little bit of sympathy,
Nope.
and then you were just like, nope, actually.
You've made a horrible mistake. And there's no going back now. But man, this is going to be a monster of a show. I feel like we just have takes to unload. Everyone's been asking, like, you guys going to do winners and losers? And we've been doing shorts on TikTok, Instagram, social media. That's a quicker way to talk about winners. But I think this is really emptying the bag.
Shout out to everybody who watched and followed the new Instagram and TikTok pages that we have for the show. We figured it was kind of time. What we would like to do is not only do these long form episodes that we have here on this podcast, that's not going to change, but give you guys that short form content that it feels like everybody's gravitating a little bit more towards. So we figured what a better time than right before the Shrine Bowl to kind of kick off those accounts. So if you guys do have Instagrams and TikToks, please subscribe to the show there. It's the same thing. NFLSE show at NFLSE show. That's what it is, kind of cross platform. We're trying to unify the brand a little bit here, right? We're trying to actually do what we need to do, not just do the podcasting, but also the business side of things. But I'm very, very excited about this mock draft. There's a lot to get to. We will be a little bit quicker on the first round just because it's a lot of players that we have talked about before. We'll talk about, obviously, the team and player connection, but we want to spend a little bit more time on those second round guys because this is the first time that we are giving you a second round mock draft, and we can talk about a lot more players that I think that we saw over the last week here at these All-Star events in the second round specifically, and talk about some draft strategies that teams can have outside of just those first round picks. So, Connor, let's get it kicked off. It's going to be a long show here. You want odds or evens?
Believe it or not, I think we had this somewhat settled. You're going to take the odds, right?
Yep. Okay.
I think it just makes more. I think it makes more sense. You were at Shrine and went straight to Senior Bowl, and I think there are. I won't spoil anything. I just think there's some interesting elements to the odds picks from Shrine into Senior Bowl.
Shout out to Muscle Milk, not a sponsor of this podcast, but it feels like the reason why I'm living and was able to survive the last 7 days. I went to the grocery store right before when I landed in Texas for the Shrine Bowl. I was like, dude, I can't eat out every meal. Like, I'll just like, I will absolutely
you start to die.
And so protein bars, Muscle Milk, so a little fresh blueberries, guys, that's a travel hack. If you're somewhere for like 3 or 4 days or more, go to the grocery store day one, get you a little bit of fruit. Your body's going to be like, oh God, thank you. Fiber, thank you. Your body's just going to be thanking you for the whole week. So, I just want to shout out Muscle Milk for actually powering this podcast here. Maybe they will be a sponsor someday. I don't know with how much I drank it this week.
I had greens packets from, shout out to Transparent Labs. All the sub companies are just keeping us afloat, and they don't pay us, but they're keeping our bodies alive. And when I drank a greens packet on like day 2, it felt like putting diesel in a Honda Civic. Like, and I was a Honda Civic with like 350,000 miles. And it was like, here's the top notch fuel. It almost spit it out. Just started shooting out of my ears. Like, this doesn't make sense. Lovely image.
Yeah. And shout out to anabolic steroids for keeping us.
I mean, that's the real thing. Yes.
All right. Let's kick it off.
Thank you for steroids for biceps.
Let's go number one. Let's go number one here. Tennessee Titans. Oh, I got to pull up the mock draft simulator, of course. Dude.
It's our first time doing this. Understandable.
I was ready to get right to it, right into the rant. Here's a beautiful PFF mock draft simulator. If you guys don't have a PFF sub, you should go over to pff.com and get yourself one. You can have the fully unlocked mock draft simulator, unlimited mocks every single day. You get to do up to 7 rounds, multiple rounds, whatever. Make sure you go get in a sub to get yourself the fully unlocked mock draft experience.
Yeah, you could screw over all the teams you hate. It's the best
100%.
part.
That's look, hate mock drafting is like half of our subscribership that we have at PFF. So we'll take it. Tennessee Titans are up at number 1. Titans are one of those teams that you learned a little bit about when you were at Shrine Bowl and when I was at Shrine Bowl. And what I learned about the Tennessee Titans is that the Cleveland Browns, and the New York Giants did extensive interview work in person with one quarterback, Shedeur Sanders from Colorado. Now, that's not to say that I'm 100% saying that Shedeur is going to go number 1 overall in this upcoming draft, but to me, it showcases that, okay, they really are investing in this quarterback class, because we've had the conversation before of like, all right, well, you know, do teams really believe that this is a quarterback class where you're going to take a quarterback at the top? Do they see it more like the 2012 class or the 2022 class, where we didn't have the first quarterback off the board until Kenny Pickett at 19 to the Steelers? It does not feel like that class. And so Cam Ward, not officially at the Shrine Bowl. He actually was at the side on the sidelines for the Shrine Bowl game, which is cool to see him and Shedeur standing next to each other. They seem to be good friends. They're competing throughout the offseason, and you kind of love to see that. I'm going to stick with Cam Ward here at number 1. I think the Titans are honing in on one of those quarterbacks to make sure if they don't get one in the pro market, that they are comfortable taking one of these guys. For us, it's been Cam Ward sort of at the top of our quarterback list for a while now. And I'm going to stick at number 1, and I'm going to continue to have Cam Ward, because nothing that I heard or saw at Shrine over the last week made me think that NFL teams are so against this quarterback class at the very top. I think that they are intrigued by it, and I think that they are comfortable at this point in time taking one of these guys if they can't find a better solution in free agency about a month from now. So I'm going to stick with Cam Ward here at the top for the Tennessee Titans, just because of the ceiling that he brings.
It's really good insight from you. And I think that, I mean, listen, the quarterbacks, even though there's only 2 right now viewed as the first round guys or top of first round guys, until we think they're not going to go for a specific reason, I feel like this is going to be commonplace, despite the whole generational player comments and all of those things. So Cam Ward goes number 1 in Tennessee. You know, with technically a new regime or part of a new regime, they get a little bit of a different look now going into it head first.
So that puts you up with the Browns number 2.
Browns at number 2, where the conversation technically could be the same, right? You could sit here and go, hey, Cam Ward, if he was there, could he be in play? He's not on the board. So it would go down to Shedeur Sanders. I think the Browns, more so than the Titans and Giants, the team in front of them and the team behind them, might be a little bit more open to going a different route than this class and getting a great player instead. Now, that could change. They have a lot of process to go through. What I always remind people during mock drafts in January and early February, like the coaches that I know and the pro scouts that I know, they're barely even sniffing the draft. They're looking towards free agency. So you have the variable of those guys getting involved in the process after the key decision makers. I think the Browns might explore the veteran quarterback market, see what's out there, where I'm comfortable enough going with a player in Abdul Carter here, Trevor, which is kind of, an interesting one, right? Because it's making a strength a strength, because you could sit there and go, man, Travis Hunter could do a lot of different things for this team, but how do you block Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett? I don't have the answer. And I think if you can rush the quarterback at an elite level, you can win a lot of football games. And they'd expect Stefanski with the veteran quarterback to get enough out of the offense that they think they'd potentially have an elite defense with those 2 edge rushers. So I'll go with Abdul Carter, who the more people you talk to, it feels like he will be the first non-quarterback taken in this draft. I think it's still up in the air between him and Travis Hunter, but I have felt a little bit of a shift over the last month, Trevor.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that this is also the first mock draft that we've done, I think, since the college football playoff. So there's players and performances that have happened throughout the college football playoff that we're going to incorporate here in this mock draft. And, how Abdul Carter played against SMU and against Boise State, like, Notre Dame, it felt like he was unblockable at
He
times
was.
in those
It's
games.
insane, that game.
With one arm, right? He hurt his
Yep.
arm. And so it's like with one arm, this dude's still getting pressure on the quarterback and still making a ton of disruption. So I agree with you. I think that we're trending towards him being consensus, maybe not between you and I. Maybe we might have Travis Hunter or somebody else at number 1 overall, but I think consensus overall from the industry is going to land with Abdul Carter as the number 1 overall player in this class. So I'm not pushing back on you. Number 3 is the New York Giants. And one of my top takeaways that I had from Shrine Bowl weekend, outside of what I got to see from these guys when they were playing on the field, which we'll get into a lot of those notes as we sort of get into round 2 and even beyond in this show. We'll talk about it a lot more over the next couple of months. I think Shedeur Sanders is going to be a New York Giant. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that like breaking news, like I heard that's absolutely happening. But I'm trying to connect
forward.
But I'm trying to connect the dots here. It was reported that Shedeur, where he did not practice with everybody out there during the Shrine Bowl practices, he met extensively with those 3 teams that I mentioned that are at the very top of the draft. You also see his interactions with Brian Daboll on the sideline of practices, and it's not like it's not the interactions of somebody who has gotten to know, has done the research on, has talked to this player. And if they weren't in on Shedeur, I think the Giants would be a little bit more reserved and Brian Daboll would be a little bit more reserved. Now, I'm not trying to put like his entire draft stock into the incredible dapped up handshake that they had on the sideline, but that does go into it a tiny little bit because it shows sort of that Brian Daboll was like, hey, Shadeur's right there. I'm saying what's up to him. I'm going to make sure that I know that I'm recognizing him as I'm kind of passing by and everything. And again, just those little things that go, I think you guys like him. And I think that one way or another, Shadeur's going to be a New York Giant. I don't know if it's going to mean that like Deion's going to try to push it as we get closer to the draft. Obviously, the Giants are picking at number 3. They're not picking at number 1. If the Titans love Shedeur, then we're having a big conversation of, okay, does Shedeur have any power like Eli Manning did, like John Elway did, where he actually gets to sort of pick and choose where he might go? Because I do think that could exist, and I'm not trying to say that's a big time negative. But I think the influence of Deion and who he is could go a long way into this. And New York is in a situation where the Sanders family should love the idea of going to New York. The reason why is because John Maher's pissed off right now.
Yeah.
He wants to win. And he knows that whether it's with Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll that they have right now or somebody else, that ownership not caring, not putting Shedeur in a good situation to succeed, or maybe the best position they possibly can to succeed, that is going to happen. They want to succeed desperately, and they're pissed off to do so. And so just connecting the dots of sort of the way that I saw the coaching staff and players within the people within the Giants sort of interact with Shedeur when he was on the sidelines, knowing that they met for a long time, hearing that they've done a lot of extensive work on him. I feel like Shedeur Sanders is going to be a New York Giant when it's all said and done as we're recording this mock draft. So that's my thoughts.
Listen, I don't think it's crazy at all. I mean, this is an organization that everybody's kind of looking around and going, they got to take a quarterback, it feels like. And that's never a position you want to be in, that you have to, but they got to make something work here. And if Shedeur just falls into their lap at 3 rather than having to flip into a different range, like flip with the Browns or flip with Tennessee, then it makes it a little bit easier to digest, I think, for the New York Giants. So, I mean, they know, they're well aware that if they kick the can down the road one more time, there might not be a can to like there might not be a scenario where they get to ever make the pick, right? Like there's only so many times you kick it down the road and then you're on the sideline or you're on the streets wishing you made that decision. So I think that's how it's going to play out for the Giants as we sit here today. And Shedeur was there. 4 for the Patriots. I'm going to keep this one simple. I'm going to go Travis Hunter.
Smart.
I will drop the caveat that I think he would play more wide receiver in this situation.
Okay.
I think that New England, now maybe they can make a big play for a wide receiver like a T. Higgins, but they need a playmaker for Drake May. Travis Hunter is an excellent playmaker. Maybe you give him some looks and packages. Maybe he comes in when you go dime. I mean, it's there's a lot to figure out long term with Travis Hunter, what he wants to do, what teams want him to do. I think opinions are very mixed right now, but I just love the idea of him going to New England and being a receiver first.
I mean, I think that this makes a ton of sense there. I like the idea of, even on the flip side, if he played corner primarily,
Him and Christian Gonzalez.
Christian Gonzalez is sick, right? And I think that, when you talk about Mike Vrabel being the head coach of that team now, you've got two cornerbacks that know how to play really good man coverage. And when you have that, that is an absolute luxury. And you have the ability to get very aggressive with the fronts, with the linebackers, with the safeties coming down. When you have two corners that you can count on the outside. So I agree, they certainly need the playmaker in the passing game as well. I wonder if like a Tetairoa McMillan is on their radar as well, just because of the size, right? Mike Vrabel, I think that he probably leans more towards the power aspect of playing positions. I wonder if that sort of entices him there if he wants to go on the offensive side of the ball. But certainly Travis Hunter, I don't think you're going wrong with him getting picked at any spot. So the Patriots get Hunter there at number 4. Jacksonville Jaguars, no Trent Baalke. Head coach Liam Cohen in there now. Man, I like the Mason Graham idea for this defensive line. I mean, can you think about this? Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, Arik Armstead, Mason Graham. That is the potential to be one of the best defensive lines in the NFL.
It's a good looking front.
They need corner. Will Johnson is here. I think Will Johnson also makes a lot of sense for this team. The Jags are one of those teams that I think we really need free agency to happen for this team to accurately say, okay, what's going to happen here at number 5? Because I also love Ted McMillan here in this offense. Knowing that you just hired an offensive head coach, knowing that the foot is on the pedal and the pedal is to the floor with how they want to operate this offense and how much better they want to get. Ultimately, I do think there's a lot of offensive weapons in this class, and I don't know if there's another Mason Graham. So I am going to go with Mason Graham at number 5 to set up just a sick defensive line there at Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think it's a very, easy pick to imagine just because of the floor that Graham has that people will love.
Yeah.
Elite
run defender, and just also has just some crazy crossover moves to him with his explosiveness.
The Raiders at 6. Now, this is not what you love to see, in my opinion. The quarterbacks are both gone. The 2 best players in the draft, and Carter and Hunter, are gone. And I would count Graham pretty high up that list as well. So with the Raiders, you have a situation where, do you want to just weapon this thing up and go Tet McMillan and Brock Bowers and kind of play basketball out there, which I don't think is out of the realm of possibility? Or do you want to help the back end and grab Will Johnson, who I think Will Johnson was better in 2023. I think there's more context needed that he played through a lot of injury this year when he did play, and it really slowed him down to being the great player we know he could be. I'm going to go with the corner here, Trevor, in Will Johnson. I just think they need that number 1 shutdown kind of guy. And I think that, is there a world where I have no problem with them taking Tet, but I'm curious what they're ultimately going to do in the pro market at this position. And I just feel like they've needed that number 1 corner to really be a matchup player on the back end.
Biggest weakness on the team, I think. No doubt about it. Well, outside of quarterback, quarterback is paramount.
But you can't create what's not there.
Yeah, and it seems like there's mixed reviews on Will Johnson. DJ, who we respect a ton, in his evaluation, he put out his top 50. I think Will Johnson was lower, wasn't he? Like around 15, something like that. And he was just like, okay, I think that opinions are maybe not as unanimous with Will Johnson being that top 10 prospect, but the tape, what he was able to showcase last year, I thought was really good stuff. So talent-wise, certainly makes sense for the Raiders to be able to add here. Jets at number 7. No Will Johnson, no Mason Graham. Not great. I will ask you this question. Now that Aaron Glenn's in the building, now that it seems like Woody Johnson says, hey, you know what? You guys make the decision on Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams. When I asked you this question a month ago, so what's the odds that Aaron Rodgers is back at quarterback? I think you said like 1%. Do you think it's still 1%, or do you think it's higher here for them to keep Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams?
I would lean 5% now.
Okay. All right.
I'm just not sure.
Folks, we're trending. We're trending up.
We're going upwards. I'm just not convinced he wants to play right now, and that's the variable no one's discussing.
Okay.
And I think that it's a situation that Glenn is going to have to come to him and Muji with a really good plan for him to be like, you know what, let me put my body through that one more year, because he had a lot of injuries this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I would lean 5%. I think they're open to it. There's a lot of financial things they have to figure out with the contract. There's so many layers they have to go through. So but the good thing is you can still operate with this pick in the same light, with or without him, almost.
Yeah. Oh man. So I think it comes down to Tetro McMillan and Malachi Starks for me here at number 7. Is there somebody that I'm not thinking of that I should be thinking of?
No. I mean, I wouldn't take Starks at 7 personally.
Okay.
But it's interesting because they really need a safety. So that's what's frustrating with it. It's a little early for me. Tet, I think, is just, obviously he's probably maybe the best player at a need for them here.
I think he's so good, man.
Actually, it's, then all the other guys come with different kind of, circumstances. You have to talk if you think Will Campbell's the best player here, well, the Jets, their interior is really good. So Will Campbell would have to play right tackle, not the position he played this year in college, because Olu plays left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Morgan Moses is a pending free agent, but they have John Simpson, Joe Tippmann, ABT across the board, their interior. That's like one of the rare strengths of their team.
I wonder if Membu's on the board at this point.
I was going to say, if you're talking O-line, it's Membu's who you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I think it's very understated how badly wide receiver becomes a need. It does become different, obviously, if Rodgers is back as Devontae is back. But assuming Rodgers is not, it's Garrett Wilson and no one else. They're going to cut Alan Lazard. Devontae would be cut in that circumstance. Malachi Corley did nothing last year. They have nothing after Garrett Wilson. Nothing.
Right. Yeah, I'll go Tet. Although I did give a good thought to Armand Membu here. I think this is where his range starts. This is high for him. But if you believe he's a top tackle in the class, which in the offensive tackle rankings, I think you did have him OT1.
Yeah.
So this is where the conversation starts with him. But I am going to go Tetro McMillan for what you mentioned. Worst case scenario, put that in quotations, you have Devontae Adams, Tetro McMillan, and Garrett Wilson.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Don't make us.
Oh boy. Anyways, okay. Carolina Panthers here at number 8. Who are you going with?
So this is where it becomes really interesting, because now it kind of opens up. It feels like
we got a lot of the heavy hitters off the board.
A lot of the heavy hitters that are constantly in the top 7 are off the board.
Yep.
This may or may surprise you. I think this is really fun because it's our first, okay, now we're coming off the Senior Bowl talk. I'm going to take Mike Green here.
I did the same thing last night. Let's go.
I'm going to take Mike Green here. He was my edge 2 in our rankings. He had a great week in 2 practices down there. The Panthers need a pure pass rusher on this front. I think Green is really, now you're looking at the 8 to 16 range. It's a tight window for him. And I would say, with something you and I talked about, the many hours we have spent together this week, it feels like the floor for him is the Bucs at 19.
I was going to say, Mike Green, in my opinion, is destined for the NFC South.
Yeah, it's a good take.
He is either getting picked by the Panthers at 8, the Saints at 9, the Falcons at 15, or the Bucs at 19. He's not getting past Tampa Bay Buccaneers at number 19. And so he's
the hat.
He's like the hat. What's the company man hat? What was it? The Rob Lowe hat that just had
the
NFL logo. That's Mike Green wearing that hat, but it's just all 4 NFC South logos. That's the situation that Mike Green feels like he's in right now after the Senior Bowl.
He needs the NASCAR jacket, but it's just patches of the NFC South teams and logos. And he wears it to the draft. And he's going to go off the board to one of them.
Just absolutely calling his shot. What if he gets drafted? What if he gets drafted somewhere else? Who else would draft him? Who else needs an edge rusher?
Dallas,
I guess.
Chicago. Man, you gotta be sitting there living good if you're Mike Green and you look at the board. And this isn't just a Mike Green combo. It's all the pass rushers. Look at all the teams that need an edge rusher from 8 to 19. It's crazy.
Yeah. If you can't get after the passer, guess what? It's priority for you. You better
Yeah.
fix it. No doubt.
Yeah, Mike Green had a big week down there, and the grades coming in on him are very high right
Yeah.
now.
That puts me on the clock with the Saints at number 9. Yeah, I mean this is definitely it's definitely an edge rush spot for them. Defensive line in general, like really whoever your best defensive lineman is here at this point. So this is just we probably should have said this at the very top. I'm doing this a little bit more as a what I think would happen type of a mock draft. We're doing this as more
Me
of a
too.
what we think would happen because we're reacting to sort of not only what we saw over the last week at Shrine and Senior, but also what we heard. And this is the part where we have a lot of our own evaluation that we do during the college football season, and certainly in December and January as we put out these early rankings. But now we get to hear, okay, well, what does the league believe on this? So we'll try to be more transparent about like, okay, we're doing this exercise as what we think versus what we would do. I'm doing this as a more what I think would happen here. We don't know who the head coach is in the New Orleans Saints as we are recording this podcast. So
Which is pretty unbelievable.
that goes into it. I'm going to take Shamar Stewart, the edge rusher from Texas A&M. Another guy who had a really good week at the Senior Bowl. He had the highest practice grade of any player at the Senior Bowl, a 93.8, because we do grade the practice footage at PFF as well, and 94.1 pass rush grade. And his run defense grade was lower, but like he already had great tape as a run defender this year when he was playing for Texas A&M. We wanted to see what he was like as a pass rusher. He still predominantly wins as an athlete, but man, just so much to bet on with this guy. I think the NFL is going to love him. And I think that there is absolutely a shot for him to go in the top 10. So I'm going to take him at number 9 here for the New Orleans Saints.
Him and Mike Green after the second practice were like the meme of Jack Harlow and Drewski in the car with the music on. And they're like, life like this sure is sweet, huh? As they pulled out of Mobile, Alabama. They said, fuck this.
That is perfect. That is so perfect for what it was. Life sure is sweet, huh?
Oh, man.
All right, Chicago at 10. You're up.
All right, so the Bears at 10. Fun. 2 pass rushers just went after I said I'd love to see the Bears get a pass rusher. Listen.
Get ready to learn O-line, buddy.
Get ready to learn O-line, buddy. And it's pretty good scenario. Take Will Campbell. And find a spot for him to settle into on your offensive line. And why I say that, and it's a little bit of a cop-out, is, I want to see what the Bears do in free agency, because they are a team that can kind of play around with guys moving around and figuring out what spots are going to be open going into the draft. And the whole question that's always constantly a conversation is, Braxton Jones, the locked-in left tackle, or do you want to upgrade and make him more of a swing guy? What's the interior going to look like? I think the interior needs help. I think Will Campbell just gives you a foundational piece on this offensive line. I am in the camp that he's a guard, but I think he's the best offensive lineman in the draft.
I've gone on this rant before. I'd love if he could play center for you. I think.
He would be an unbelievable center.
I think if Will Campbell's playing center for you, if you tell me he's got the flexibility to really be able to sit down and get that wide base, because he plays with a narrow, very upright base right now, but it might just be what he's taught at LSU, because Emory Jones on the other side does the same thing. So if the flexibility is not an issue for him, and he could really get down and snap the football and stay low and get that pad level down a little bit more. I mean, this is a guy who can make all sorts of protection calls for you. If you guys don't already, go check out Brandon Thornton's work.
It is great.
Over at his Substack. He had Will Campbell on, and they were breaking down his film, and just Will is just so smart. Man, I mean, just he's the kind of guy that you want in the middle of your offensive line, recognizing where the defense is aligned, making some adjustment calls. I mean, we talk about tight ends or a running game or a top wide receiver being a quarterback's best friend. Sometimes it's the dude in front of him that he's taking snaps from.
Yeah.
Sometimes the center. And so I love this Will Campbell pick here, number 10. San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to go with a pick that I think we're sort of trending in this direction. Again, I think this is the top of where this guy could go in terms of range, but love the fit. Phenomenal fit. One of my favorite fits that we'll probably do in this entire mock draft. And that is Jahdae Barron, the corner / just overall defensive back from Texas, going to the San Francisco 49ers here at number 11. Robert Saleh playing more of a zone cover 3 heavy type of a defense. Whether Barron is playing in the slot, whether he's playing on the outside, whether he's playing some safety reps for you, like him as a zone corner we saw all the forced incompletions that he was able to get over the last couple of years and the interceptions that he was able to get this past year. I believe he led the SEC in interceptions, and it's his first year playing full time on the outside. So you see their zone coverage grade of 91.8 on the screen. I mean, this dude is fantastic. So I think he's a perfect fit for what Robert Saleh wants to do and how he wants to deploy his coverages. So now back as the DC for San Francisco, I'm going Jahdae Barron here at number 11.
All right, Barron at 11. That's definitely the earliest we've had him so far. 12, the Cowboys. I'm not going to take Ashton Genty.
Wow,
as much as, Genty is just clearly one of the best players in the draft. I think Dallas can maybe double up on running back later in this draft and kind of rebuild this thing. Now, I look at this group and go, man, maybe you should just take the best offensive lineman available. And for me, in this spot, that is going to be Membu.
Okay.
So I just think it upgrades if you just slot him into right tackle. It's an upgrade right away. You could see it unless you want to start to flip guys around. But this is best offensive lineman available, tier for me. And I think Membu is worth a top 15 pick. I think he played himself into that this year, as we've talked about.
Yeah, didn't get to practice at the Senior Bowl due to a stomach flu. So he wasn't able to be out there because he was sick. Obviously, if you're sick and you're not playing well, there's some dogs on the other side of the line of scrimmage that don't give a damn that you're not feeling well and that you're under the weather. So you don't want to go out there if you're not 100%. Obviously would have respected if he tried to tough it out, but like I understand him not wanting to get out there if he was not 100%. So it was a bummer that we didn't get to see him this week. Was really excited about that, but he is still, I agree with you, a really good offensive tackle and a first-round offensive tackle. Miami Dolphins, I think that we do this selection a lot. I just don't know if I can really go away from it unless we learn something in free agency. Kelvin Banks Jr., if he is here, this is somebody who he could play offensive tackle for you, but he's also a little bit shorter in height, so he's got that natural pad level if you want to play him at guard. And specifically for Miami, having the speed that Kelvin Banks Jr. does, the offensive tackle from Texas, by the way, having that speed to be a puller and for zone blocking plays and all that like that. It's just, I think that is ideal for what Miami wants to do. You can see his zone grade here is 81.5 this past season. Pass blocking grade was all the way up to an 89.8 this past year. He's a really good offensive lineman wherever you're going to play him. Got a really bright future in the NFL. And Miami, I think, has tried to ignore their offensive line or not prioritize it too much over the last few years. And it's time to pay the bills. It's time to eat your vegetables, if you will. Let's invest in the O-line at 13 here.
Yeah, the Dolphins, they could really use that advice. I mean, you're a team that wants to establish the run and wants to protect Tua. Go get the premium ingredients for this offensive line, however the board falls. 14, the Colts. I know maybe people are sick of it, but I'm taking Tyler Warren. I just think it's a great fit for him. I think it's a need. He's going to help you play heavy. Good luck stopping a run game where you have Anthony Richardson as a threat as a runner, Jonathan Taylor a threat as a runner, and then Tyler Warren with the ability to play on the line of scrimmage, block in the run game, but also release off the line of scrimmage and run the seam for you. I think this has a chance to be one of the best red zone offenses in the NFL. If you have Richardson's running, Jonathan Taylor's running, and then the red zone threat of Warren, Pittman, Downs as a separator, Pierce. We'll see what they can get from Mitchell. I like this fit. I'm not going to go away from it.
It basically puts all of the pressure on Anthony Richardson. If the pressure was not already all on Anthony Richardson, because there's just no excuses then at that point. I mean, if Richardson can't give you the consistency that you want in the offense, they'll find somebody else who can. I think it's tempting with Malachi Starks here. Even if you didn't love him sort of in the top 10, around the top 5, him at number 15, I think is a high impact player for them at a position that they really need. So I think that Malachi is also in that conversation. But you're right, Warren, just after the year that he's had and how he's going to be viewed by the NFL, it's hard to think that he's going to get past the Colts here at number 14. 15 is the Atlanta Falcons. They need edge rush help. They need that go-to edge rusher. We got a good one here on the board in James Pierce Jr., and I'm very comfortable taking him here. I'm just sort of looking at my other options because, they could use a corner. Benjamin Morrison's here. Trey Amos and Savon Ravel. These guys could be options for them.
Yeah, it feels a smidge early, doesn't it? I could hear it in your voice.
Well, it is just because it's like I love Revel, but you're coming off an ACL tear, and the position is just based off of you being a great athlete, and his entire
explosive.
His entire profile is based off of him being a great athlete. So if you tell me like, all right, well, we're 100% getting that back, then yeah, we talk about him in the top 20, but little hesitant there. I would honestly think about going with Walter Nolan because of how good he was this week at the Senior Bowl.
Right.
But they did just draft a bunch of guys like Ororo last year. The Oregon dude. Who? Come on, you got to help me. You got it. Brandon Dorless, thank you.
Oh, sorry, I didn't help at all.
Braylon Trice as well, who I think might be more of that like interior rusher, or he might be just.
They've tried
3-4. They kind of did, right? They tried to have
tried
their
for
cake,
years.
They tried to have their cake and eat it too last year by drafting Penix at 8 when they could have drafted Jared Verse. They could have drafted Leatu Latu. They drafted Penix, and obviously it turned out to be a smart decision there for them. But then they went, okay, D-line immediately. They still need that premier guy, though.
Yeah.
I think James Pierce Jr. is that dude. I don't know. I don't think
he'd be the one I take here.
Yeah. There's not anybody else that I would get away from here. He's the one-on-one winner. He's the explosive guy. He gives them a pass rusher they don't have on that team yet. So I'm gonna go James Pierce Jr. at 15. You're up at Cardinals 16.
Cardinals at 16. A lot of different directions they can go.
Dude, this could be a Walter Nolan spot.
This actually very well could be a Walter Nolan spot. Yeah, this is tricky, this one. This is the first one.
He was great. I mean, he showed this week at the Senior Bowl, he showed that he is just a better athlete than everybody else is.
That's always been the case with him, right?
Yeah, he's
just as a recruit, as a college player.
Yep.
And I remember you were with me on this. Over summer, I think we were both very underwhelmed by Nolan. When we watched
2023 tape is very unpolished.
And to his credit, I saw significant jumps this year. Where at 16, I think this is the route I'm going to go because it gives them explosiveness at interior D-line. It's not like they're just taking this hulking, and they could also use a 2-gapping run stuffer as well. It just kind of needs a makeover, this interior unit. And we'll see what they get on the edge from Ojulari getting healthy next year. I could see them adding another edge pass rusher as well, to kind of round out that group. But yeah, I'm with you. It's a good call on Nolan. I think he's another guy that's just trending upwards. It ended up being a really good decision, him going to the Senior Bowl, just because, like you said, Trevor, at his size, you see the athleticism that he has.
Yep.
So Nolan to 16.
All right, halfway through the mock, we're going to do an ad read, and shout out to Seattle Seahawks fans because they always tell me that I do the ad read right before the Seahawks pick. Well, we're doing it one before.
Plot twist.
Boom! Didn't see that coming, did you? You guys played Pick 6 by DraftKings yet? If you haven't, what are you waiting for? We only got the Super Bowl left, so it's time to get in on it. As the official daily fantasy sports partner of the NFL, DraftKings does fantasy sports like no one else. You can play for better payouts on Pick 6. Very easy to do. Select 2 or more players. Say if they all have more or less of a single stat like touchdowns, receptions, sacks, whatever it is. That's all you got to do. Pick 6 available in most states like Missouri, California, Texas, and Georgia. So many more, obviously, beyond that. They're making it even sweeter for first-time users. If you're late to the game, it's all right. New Pick 6 customers play $5 on your first Pick 6 set. You get 50 in Pick 6 credits. Chiefs and the Eagles. Saquon's a big reason why the Eagles are here, right? If you think that he's going to keep going off, look at the numbers. Look at it, the rushing over-unders. Look at the rushing touchdowns, the total carries, whatever. Just say if he will have more or less of one of those, and that's just one example. Then you only need one more. Win more cash on Pick 6. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app. Use the promo code PFF. That's promo code PFF for new customers to play $5 and get 50 in Pick 6 credits. Only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problems with gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions do vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. 1 per new customer. Bonuses awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire within 30 days. Limited time offer. See terms at DraftKings. Pick6.draftkings.com/promos. All right, Bengals at 17. Sneaky. I like Tyler Warren here if he makes it 17.
Sorry, partner.
Could be sick. Yeah, could have had it.
Maybe we'll switch it up.
Bengals fans, go after Connor. Don't go after me. I was trying to.
I screwed you.
Yeah, you did. You did. You did. Make sure you never forget that, no matter how bad this mock draft pick is. So Malachi Starks, I think, is an easy one for me. I'm sort of scrolling to see if there's anybody else that really. I mean, Ashton Genty. I mean, like, I love Chase Brown. I do.
I think
he's a
Bengals fans will find a way to kill you.
I think he's a good back, but like Genty being here at
Yeah.
17, it's just it's something that I think that you would think about. Depending on what happens with T. Higgins, Luther Burden III still on the board here at number 17. A really good football player. I think that could be an excellent pick for them. I would have thought about Walter Nolan if he was here. You think about Michael Williams, sure. I think it gives you a better edge presence, but he's not really the pass rusher that you want. Maybe Jack Sawyer is. Maybe Nick Scorton could be. I think Texas A&M had Scorton playing a little bit heavier than what he was when he was at Purdue. I think he loses a little bit of weight. He gets a little bit faster.
He might trend back up if he has the right combine.
I think so too, man. Again,
because like the more I sit on it, I'm like, man, if he just gets down to 265 and gets closer to the Purdue version, I don't want to forget how much we loved that guy this summer.
I am 100% with you, man. I don't know if it was maybe a him thing, like he wanted to carry a little bit more weight, like he thought he needed to play with a little bit more strength at Texas A&M. Maybe it was a Texas A&M thing, but he looked like he was playing bigger this past year, and he was not that same disruptive type of a player. But the year before, yeah, I mean, he was excellent. I talked. I don't know, Jim. I'm gonna go with Malachi Starks. I think Starks is too good of a football player. I think you can change things for your coverage. I think you can change things on the back end for you. And I just think it is still an area safety. It's got to be a major upgrade for the Bengals. And let's not forget how good Malachi was in his freshman and sophomore years when he was at Georgia. So I'll go Malachi Starks here at 17.
All right, Seattle is on the clock at 18.
No, we got another ad read. No, I'm just kidding.
That would have been amazing if you just back pocketed one. I tricked all of you, and you fell for it.
We do have another ad. I couldn't have done it. That
would have been just so diabolical.
Love you, Seahawks fans.
Seattle here is a little bit of a weird one, right? Because typically we really like to. They had interior offensive line problems this year that are well documented.
Mm-hmm.
I do think, as much as I always take one here for them, I do think they can also fix this on day 2 of the draft. I think there's like very helpful guards on day 2 of this draft, assuming that in this scenario, Kelvin Banks, Will Campbell, Membu, they're all gone.
Mm-hmm.
And my other top offensive linemen, I look at Connerly and Simmons as real tackles. I'm not moving Abe Lucas or Charles Cross right now.
No, I mean, you're maybe worried about the long-term health with Abe Lucas. But
that's a big one.
But he said after the season, he's like, I feel great. He's like, I feel as good as I have in a while, which is great, which obviously is very good for them.
Right. I want to look at what kind of edge they could possibly need. I know they've gotten more production. They're like I feel like Boye Mafe has been trending the right way.
He's been better, absolutely.
Yeah, he's been better for them.
I mean, Scorton would.
That's who I'm looking at.
Great for them, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of where I've landed. Is that
dude? That could be a nasty for as well as Leonard Williams played this past year too.
He was great. Byron Murphy will be even better.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Scorton, and in my ideal world, I'd like him to play at more 265 on this front, and even get some wider chances. And he obviously can set the edge for you. There's just a lot he could do in this front. And Seattle fans, it's a 2-rounder, so don't worry, we're gonna get that interior offensive line right.
We'll get there. Bucks
That's the beauty of this one today. Like, you have 2 chances to fix things.
I know. We got to speed things up, or we're going to be here.
Yeah, we do. We're doing the thing we always do.
Yeah, we're gonna be fast.
We'll be really quick.
We're gonna be really quick with the first.
You've already heard the first rounders. Like, you're
idiots.
Absolute idiots run this show.
It's what happens when you get 2 narcissists to a podcast and they just love to hear each other talk.
It's true. I got a great idea for the Cowboys at 12 that no one's thought of.
The Buccaneers up at number 19. All the heavy hitters, I think, are gone. Great for me. Thanks.
You really love to see this.
They need edge rusher and cornerback pretty badly. Could have settled for Malachi Starks, but even he is gone. Let me think here. What makes the most sense for the Bucks? Hey, Trey almost be a really good pick for them. I think Savon Revel would be a good pick. I think Donovan Izaraku would also be a good pick, but not at 19. Maybe Jihad Campbell, but there's good linebacker. We got some linebackers that are coming out of the woodwork here in this class that I think you don't have to take one in round one. Xavier Watson would also be sick. Man, I think it's got to come down to one of these edge rushers that's here. I think you either got to
see what I mean. It's like every time you look, a team needs a pass rusher.
I think you got to either take a chance on Mykel Williams, think that he's going to become a better pass rusher. Like love the run defense that you get from him. Pass rush grade was just low again this past year.
Yep.
They also didn't really do what they said they were going to do by playing him as a stand-up outside linebacker. I feel like I didn't see that nearly as much.
No.
Sawyer's been good. I think that's definitely an option for them. Oh, man. I'm gonna go with Savon Revel.
Okay.
From East Carolina. I'm hoping the knee's back to 100%. Guy who's got a really good ball skills, really good athleticism. I mean, if you have Revel, I keep saying his name all different ways because
it's Savon Revel. You got this. You had it right the first time.
Did I really?
Yeah, it's Savon Revel.
Okay.
As far as I know, hopefully I'm not the idiot.
I think that might be wrong, but I don't know. Now
I know it's Savon.
All right, Savon Revel. Maybe. Going to the Bucks here at number 19. Him and Zion McCollum on the outside. It'd be a sick athletic quarterback duo, and they really need it, whether or not they move on from Javale Dean or not. You're up with the Broncos at number 20.
You wanted out of that so fast.
Yeah, get me out.
All right, Broncos.
That was my elimination chamber.
Broncos at 20. I'm going to take Colston Loveland here. I obviously you could go a couple different directions at wide receiver with Burden on the board, Ibuka on the board, but this is a fit that we've really liked. Loveland is just such a difference-making pass-catching tight end that can play on the line of scrimmage. I think it fits the concepts that Sean Payton loves to run with tight ends on the field. A good matchup with Bo Nix. They're gonna be looking to get Bo more help through the air in this draft.
Obviously, the connection makes a lot of sense with how much Sean Payton has emphasized the tight end passing game since his time back with New Orleans. Pittsburgh Steelers up at number 21. They need cornerback badly. They also need wide receiver badly. This one basically comes down to Matthew Golden, Emeka Egbuka, Benjamin Morrison. Oh, wait a second. Luther Burden III.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't skip the...
Yeah, I'm dumb. Luther Burden III. Couldn't have been easier. I'm sprinting the card in. I'm handing the card to Usain Bolt, and he's going to break his own record to get this card to Roger Goodell to read off the name Luther Burden III. Burden would, in my opinion, lead the Steelers in receiving, like every receiving category next year, even with George Pickens on the team, who I like. Remember, I've been day one, George Pickens, good wide receiver at the NFL level. If they had Luther Burden, doesn't even matter what quarterback's on this team, he would lead the Steelers in basically every receiving category next year as a rookie. I think he's a stud and a yak king, and I think that'll continue at the NFL level.
Type of receiver they really, really need. 22, the Chargers. Take an Ashton Genty.
Yeah, you better. Or we would have fist fought.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Harbaugh developing a heavy run game, get the best running back in this draft. Just unbelievable picturing him in this offense. The balance, the physical edge he plays with. He fits the identity of what they want this team to be.
The Packers are on the clock at number 23. I think the obvious one for them is either Trey Amos or Benjamin Morrison at the cornerback spot because they need to be a lot better at corner. So until we see them do that in the pro market, I mean, even Jair Alexander, I feel like is up in the air for this team moving forward.
Oh, very much so. There's a lot of issues going on there.
But for as much as this team sort of boasted in the offseason, oh, well, we don't have a number one wide receiver. We've got 4 number one wide receivers and all this kind of stuff. Nobody's really a number one receiver for them. It's kind of just, it's group, and you want them to be great collectively, and sometimes they are, but I think through stretches, even through a successful season in the win-loss column, there were plenty of times when it was like, all right, backs against the wall, who we throwing the ball to? And I like Jaden Reed the most out of these guys.
Right.
But like Christian Watson's gone through injuries. Romeo Dobbs has gone through injuries. Dontavian Wicks has stretches where he looks great, but then he can't catch. Luke Musgrave didn't really develop into the tight end that you wanted him to at a level where you have a great 2 tight end passing game, because Tucker Kraft is great, and I think he's clearly the tight end one of that team, but what's Luke Musgrave's going to be for you? All of a sudden, I think a year, 7 months from when we were talking about this team during the summer, it was like, oh yeah, this offense is absolutely stacked everywhere. And it's like, oh, they've got names. Do they have a player that they could go to? It makes me want to pick Emeka Egbuka for this team. Or Matthew Golden, at least, right? I mean, because Matthew might give you a little bit more juice. If you want that, fine. But I think the Packers need a guy who could be a go-to passing weapon for them in all situations. And that's Emeka Egbuka to me. And I'm going to take him at 23 for the Green Bay. Very curious as to what Packers fans think of that rant that I just went on and this pick of Egbuka at 23.
He's a perfect wide receiver for them. I mean, he's got the athleticism. He's been asked to do so much as a blocker for them. He's a good route runner, a polished route runner. He's reliable. And I don't know if their receivers have been reliable, honestly. So I think that's a home run. 24, the Vikings on the clock here.
Don't do
this. This is where you'd like corner help.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
What were you thinking?
No, you can do that. No, you can do that.
No, I want to know what you're thinking.
No, you're a really smart analyst. I really respect your work. I love where you were going. You should keep going that way.
Well, where were you going?
I'll tell you in about 60 seconds.
Oh. Oh, man. That's good. That's the good stuff.
That's showbiz, baby.
And that is why
I don't. No. I don't think you're wrong about corner. By the way, I just didn't want you to snipe the player that I'm going to take at 25.
Yeah, no, I'm probably going to take Kenneth Grant here.
Ooh, okay.
I was hoping that was who you were taking. I was trying to be a smart ass. No, the more I look at this, though, as much as I know they need a corner, there's still time, because we didn't even do corners for this show again. Yeah, we did them over summer, and a lot has changed. I don't know how comfortable I am with Amos in this spot. And I say that being serious. I don't know. I think it'll be close. The frustrating one that we'll just keep hammering home, like, we just don't know anything about Benjamin Morrison's hip. If we had the green light on his hip, he's not even probably here.
Right.
But we don't know. I guess the point is, though, you do reach you got to have the guy come off the board eventually kind of situation.
He declared.
Yeah, he did.
So
you would hope that means he feels confident before the combine he's going to get the green light.
I would certainly hope so, because if that hip is really going to go into the combine and pro days and into his rookie year of his career in the NFL, I don't know, man. I feel like I would have gone back and been like, okay, let's make sure we get this thing right.
Yep.
Because it's not like you're going to hide it, right? It's not like you're going to hide it from
not
the
a
NFL.
hip or a corner.
You're going to do all the medical rechecks at the combine. Teams are going to ask you all about it. Obviously, that's the number one thing in bold at the very top of their, what do we need to know about Benjamin Morrison? Every team in the NFL is going to figure this out. So I certainly hope that he got the right advice, and it's like, all right, yeah, no, you'll be good to go. You'll be all good. You'll be able to run. You'll be able to showcase your movement abilities, all that. Because if it's going to linger and if it's going to be way beyond the draft season, if you will, I'd get worried about where he's going to get drafted.
So I'm going to take Kenneth Grant here. There's a lot of variables with the corners on the board, and I don't feel that way with Grant, who has such good feet for his size. He could play heavy for you in that front. I think they need defensive tackle help.
Yeah, I would agree with you as well. I think that makes sense. The Vikings could have gone a direction at number 24 for the direction that I'm going to go here at number 25. I'm taking Gray Zabel, the interior offensive lineman from North Dakota State.
I mean, one of the biggest winners of the week.
This dude was an absolute beast at the Senior Bowl. And we went into this whole exercise saying, like, all right, we're going to pay a lot of attention to Gray Zabel, because not only does North Dakota State have a good pipeline of offensive linemen that they have sent to the NFL over the last 5-6 years, it's a championship-winning program. He played tackle, played right and left tackle over the last 2 years here for this team, and we knew that he was going to kick inside. We're like, all right, well, is he going to be a guard? Is he going to be a center? Like some people like him as a center, all that. He played center, he played guard, he played right guard, and he played left guard on day one of Senior Bowl practices, and I did not see him lose a rep. Not one. Now, obviously, he lost some reps as the week went on, but he looked phenomenal. He looked so good in person, so fantastic, so pro-ready on the interior, even for not really playing it a lot over the last couple of years, that my takeaway from his performance at the Senior Bowl is we need to be talking about this dude the same way we talked about Graham Barton last year. Guess where Graham Barton went in last year's draft? 26. Guess where the Texans picked? 25. This is the range, people. We're talking late first round, early second round. Got no problem with one of these teams, specifically the Houston Texans, whose interior offensive line was not only not good enough, a literal kryptonite for this team when it came down to them making the playoffs and them getting into the playoffs and then playing against the Kansas City Chiefs, and just they were no match. They were no match because Kansas City knew exactly how to attack them because that was such a weakness for them. So until they address those things in free agency, which I do think that they will, I'm taking Gray's Abel here at number 25 for the Houston Texans.
I mean, listen, it's hard to argue anybody made themselves more money on a scale of where they were going into the week versus where they are now. The Rams at 26, both top tight ends off the board. Another team that could probably use some help in the secondary. Kind of curious the long term of this offensive line. I know they've spent a lot of money on the interior going forward, despite the Jonah Jackson signing not really working out. I wonder how they view left tackle right now.
Yeah.
Is my big question.
Yeah, I think that's a question mark for them for sure. I think long term that's definitely a question.
Like Alaric Jackson is a free agent.
Yeah.
So that's a big variable. And I'm not saying you won't be able to bring him back, but I think I'm going to take Josh Simmons here. This is one where if you just go by the sample of what you got before he got hurt, you could argue that he was the best pure tackle going into this draft, but he got hurt.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is. And
some really good tape.
He has some really, really good tape. And he's a smooth mover, and he's got the build for tackle that not a lot of guys have in this class. So I'm going to go with Simmons here. And maybe they bring back an Alaric Jackson, and maybe they kind of give Simmons the time that he might need.
Well, I think I think that they could certainly bring back Jackson. Maybe Rams fans know differently, but Havenstein is also like 32, 33 years old. So I mean, you're pretty much setting up a situation where Simmons can recover from that knee injury into his rookie season. You don't have to throw him out there right away.
Getting a discount then.
Yeah, I mean it's a long-term play for them, and I do like it. Ravens at 27. Edge rusher on the table for them. Maybe tackle on the table for them, depending on what happens with Ronnie Stanley. That is certainly true. Man, it felt like their offense was so good this year. Like wide receiver, I'd like to get like Matthew Golden. I love the idea of Matthew Golden with the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I thought of that too.
I think it's a really good pick for them in terms of just overall talent. Need certainly. I mean, like Lamar is like back-to-back MVP type of a player, even without a Matthew Golden. So he's won Mark Andrews catch. I don't mean to say that's like call out Mark Andrews, but he's won Mark Andrews catch in a 2-point conversion from tying that up, and maybe they're still playing right now. Jack Sawyer could make sense for this team. Josh Connerly could make sense for this team.
Right.
Connerly might be the guy. I'm checking something really quick with the Ravens. Yeah, you got Rosengarten at right. You got Stanley, who's a free agent. How old is Stanley too? And it's kind of a bad scenario for the Ravens because Stanley's missed a bunch of time
on that huge deal.
And now it's like, oh, last year the deal, I played all the games, and it's
never fails.
Like perfect timing for it. Obviously, great for Ronnie Stanley. I'm not trying to say anything negative there, but it puts the Ravens in obviously an interesting situation of what you're going to do here. You know what? I am going to draft Josh Connerly, and I'm going to draft Connerly, and say, hey, you might be an interior offensive line upgrade for us before we need to kick you out to left tackle, depending on if they could bring Ronnie Stanley back. And if they do bring Ronnie Stanley back, it's probably only on what, like a 2-3 year deal?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, I think the Ravens will probably only give him a 2-3 year deal. Maybe elsewhere he might be able to get a 4, depending on what teams believe in him. But Connerly, I thought, had a really good week of practice outside of one very bad rep against Mike Green. But I think that
right. It's amazing how that like defines him now.
But you gotta remember too, he was playing right tackle for that rep.
Great call. That's a great call.
And Max Chadwick pointed this out when we were doing the mock draft over at PFF's channel. Josh Connerly's only ever played left tackle. So they put him over at right tackle because that's what you do at the Senior Bowl. You put guys in these different situations, and the footwork's a little bit different. The timing, the balance is a little bit different. And Mike Green knew that, and Mike Green just ran straight through his chest. So good for Mike Green, but it's definitely much more of a praise of Mike Green than a negative on Connerly. He's still a really good offensive tackle. I'm taking him at 27.
Really glad you said that, because I think people overreact to one play in a negative light towards the player, that the player's in a, Green, who I love as much as anyone, was in an advantageous situation, and he took advantage of it, which is what you want to see.
Right.
But it doesn't mean Connerly falls around. I saw people that were like, oh, it doesn't seem like Connerly is having a good week. It's like, well, they're putting him in uncomfortable positions to kind of 100%. Bring the most out of him.
And I try. What I like, the biggest takeaway of Connerly is the jump that I saw from him from 2023 to 2024. The Senior Bowl, there's some good, some bad. But that, to me, is the big takeaway from Connerly and how much you should like him moving forward.
The Lions at 28. This is a team that I think they need more help on the edge across from Aiden Hutchinson. This is kind of the, like, how do I think it'll go versus how I would prefer it to go. It's hard to just see Mykel Williams falling further than this. Mm-hmm. As much as I'm lower on him because of the lack of impact. I mean, Dan Campbell could look at this guy. Brad Holmes and Ray Agnew could look at this guy and go, man, we know we're getting a high floor run defender from day one, and we're going to tap into the pass rush traits across from Aiden.
Yep.
Let's take him at 28.
Yep. I'm with you. This would be my pick for them. As much as I think the Jack Sawyer, Aiden Hutchinson storyline, enemies to best friends, Hollywood Disney movie is hard to deny. I think that Mykel Williams is going to be pretty high on their board because of what he can do. Like you said, it's certainly against the run, and he's built like an alien. Feels like. The Commanders here at number 29. Edge, tackle, wide receiver. Sawyer, I think, makes a lot of sense for this team. Got no problem taking him. If you take Amos, you can actually kick Mike Sanders still back inside. I think Donovan Ezeraku could potentially be an option for this team if they like that savviness, more of a stand-up pass rusher. And Matthew Golden's here, and he's a stud.
Right.
I don't know if I like any of the tackle options that we have left. I feel like we had a good run on the tackles. No, because I think Ozzie Trapillo had a good week at the Senior Bowl, but he, I don't think I'm taking him at 29. I'll go Jack Sawyer. Let's go Jack Sawyer here. Need a little bit more juice on the defensive line. I guess I could have picked Benjamin Morrison too. Yeah,
we're still kind of figuring that out.
Yeah, I'll go Jack Sawyer. We'll go Jack Sawyer here at number 29 for the Washington Commanders, who need to continue to make sure the defensive line is what it is, and he can be go-to pass rusher for him. So Bills at 30. You're up.
All right, the Bills at 30. They've really built up this offensive line.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I feel like we're getting so much closer to like D-line being the target for them.
Interior.
Yeah.
I know. You could almost go both ways with Vaughn getting up there.
Right.
In age. It's just a matter of, what you think is left here that you would take for that spot. Like, is this too early for TJ Sanders? Probably a smidge. Good Senior Bowl, though. Good day one, I should say. With all the injuries they had, do you think they go back to the well at corner? Because they just don't want to play Kaiir Elam whenever somebody gets hurt. I mean, he's bad. It just hasn't worked.
What really sucks about Kyrie Elam is I think that he's a really talented corner who is mentally broken right now.
Yep,
And
it's
I
a confidence issue.
and I watched that firsthand with Vernon Hargraves when he was with the Buccaneers.
Oh, yeah.
They couldn't get Hargraves to play closer than 7 yards to the line of scrimmage
And trust his legs.
because he did not have any confidence. And when he was, well, they could get him to play press, like true press, but he was not able to adjust against NFL level explosiveness and strength off the line of scrimmage. And then when it came to, okay, well, we'll put you more in zone, he didn't feel comfortable when he couldn't get hands on guys. He didn't feel comfortable with his recovery speed and how he could match those players. So it just feels like he is a in no man's land type of a situation right now. And I feel when I watched Kyrie Elam come in the game against the Chiefs, I was like, damn, I had Vernon Hargraves flashbacks, which unfortunately I'm contractually obligated to say he had grades.
Contractually obligated.
Yeah, I think it's something to think about. I really do.
If I was going that route, oh, you know what? I actually take this back.
Okay.
You know who we have not taken yet? We haven't taken Jalen Walker yet.
Oh, it's true. It's true.
We have not taken Jalen Walker yet.
Have not.
Who? Let me be fair. Like everything's a little all over the place with Jalen Walker right now, because the pure idea of like what he could be is really fun. But there's also the question of sometimes people really like him as a pass rusher, but he's not really built like a traditional pass rusher.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he played a lot of linebacker for Georgia. This is the type of athlete that I think Sean McDermott would like in the middle of his defense. Milano came back this year. He is getting a little older and very banged up. I wonder if this is a fit for Walker if he fell, because maybe he gives you a little juice off the edge on passing downs or as like a blitzer, but they do play him off the ball on early downs, and they feel like the type of athlete he is allows them to have a 3-down player here.
Could.
Yeah. So I'll go Jalen Walker, which is a little bit different for the Bills because they're just not used to having him available here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's not out of the range of outcomes that they look to get a little younger in the middle of the field in this spot with a guy that can do different roles for you.
Eagles at 31. I mean, what do you do with the Eagles?
It's good living.
They're a team that's basically stacked in every single spot.
Well, let me throw something at you.
All right.
Mekhi Becton on a 1-year deal.
Yep.
I think that it's worked out for the Eagles on as much as you could on a 1-year deal. I think he's had jaw-dropping moments as a run blocker.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is still a problem in pass pro, in my opinion. Like when you really watch him, is that just a spot where they go, hey, let's just, Becton's going to go get paid somewhere a little more than what we're comfortable with. We got what we needed to out of this deal. Do we look to bring in somebody to that spot?
So are you saying this is where Tyler Booker comes off the board?
That would be the guy that you would think of right away.
Probably.
Especially the Eagles. It's their type.
And I don't hate it. Certainly because I think we've been a little bit lower just as a collective here on NFLSC on Tyler Booker, and I don't think that we think that he's a bad football player, but some people have talked about Tyler Booker is like one of the top players in the class. I know DJ, again, bringing up his top 50 in his mock draft. In his recent mock draft, he had Tyler Booker going 10 to the Chicago Bears. And if this is a what we would do mock, DJ said in his little blurb is like, hey, they talk about this guy as if he's and I think this was DJ who said this. I might be getting this mixed up, but I had heard this somewhere. Like the Alabama talks about Tyler Booker like he's the Will Anderson Jr. of their offensive line in terms of like, this is an absolute, like this is an NFL player from how he approaches the game, how smart he is, how talented he is, all that kinds of stuff. So I don't hate that idea for the Philadelphia Eagles to get a player like this in there, especially because, Lane Johnson's not getting any younger either. Not that I think that he's imminently getting out of there because he was one of the best tackles, if not the best tackle in the game this past season. But you just think about always wanting to make sure that you're where you need to be along the offensive line. So I'll go Tyler Booker here. I don't have a problem with that. Tyler Booker at 31. I think
it's a great fit. I only did one big board this year so far for NBC, and it was back in the first week of September.
Mm-hmm.
I had Booker 23rd. We didn't redo guards yet. So I'm curious to see where he lands when I do another big board, which will be soon because we're going to be getting closer to reevaluating all position rankings.
Yeah.
But that is pretty eye-opening. DJ had him at 10th.
Yeah.
Like that's a range of outcomes that I didn't have written down.
Yeah, because I can't remember where he had him on his top 50, but like DJ's whole thing, and it's a really great reminder. He says, I do rankings with my eyes.
Yep.
I do mock drafts with my ears. And I don't remember exactly where he had Booker independently, like from his own studies, but having him 10 means that he's heard from probably multiple places that Tyler Booker is very highly regarded around NFL circles.
Right. The grades are just really high on him.
Yeah. Chiefs at 32. You're up.
Chiefs at 32. Oh, man. It's a little tricky, this one, right? Because we had a pretty good run on offensive linemen.
Yeah. Nobody really made it to them. I wonder if because I feel like Ursery had a pretty good.
I was just gonna say we say nobody made it to them, but it feels like we were starting to get a little full circle with Ursery. Where if you talk to people coming out of summer, Ursery was a guy that people thought could sneak into the end of round 1. And now after Senior Bowl, it feels like Ursery's back to being a guy that could sniff round 1. And if you're the Chiefs, he has all the size that you could want as a tackle. He's played a lot of football for Minnesota. He moves well at his size. This would be the guy I would take out of the guys that are left for sure.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the other guys are guards.
Yeah, if you want offensive line, definitely.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ursery here. And because, this is an interesting one because are the Chiefs going to stick Tooney at tackle long term now and just try to take the best player? I think they'd like Tooney to slide back to guard.
Yes.
And they'll figure out this tackle situation in the offseason.
Yeah, so. I would agree with you. All right, that's round 1 down. Obviously, we don't need to list off all the round 1 picks. We'll talk about them as we get into round 2 here. But before we get to that, I got a question for you guys. What does your child's future's success look like to you? Maybe it's a job they're very passionate about. Maybe it's traveling the world. Maybe it's just them being comfortable and happy, whatever that looks like. You can help them make that easier to achieve with a kid's investment account from Fabric by Gerber Life. By making a contribution to your child's future today, you can give them the help and the means to pursue their dreams, both big and small, whatever that may be. Fabric by Gerber Life was designed by parents for parents to make it easy to plan for and manage your family's financial path. With the Kids Investment Account for Fabric, you can start investing in your child's future today. Kids cannot invest while they're minors, but this Kids Investment Account allows you to invest on their behalf, gives those investments plenty much more time to grow. Funds can be used for anything. When they're kids, it's, music classes, summer school, sporting events, whatever it is. Or, when they're older, first car, first house, starting a business, traveling the world, whatever it is. Whole thing's online, easy to set up an account, could take you as little as 5 minutes, and then you can just manage the whole thing right from your phone. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Start investing in your child's future today at meetfabric.com/stock-exchange. That's meetfabric.com/stock-exchange, MEET, fabric.com/stock-exchange. Portfolios are managed by Fort Washington Investment Advisors Incorporated. Additional services provided by Apex Clearing Corporation. All investing is subject to risk. Learn more at meetfabric.com. Brings us back to the PFF Mock Draft Simulator, and the Cleveland Browns here start things out at number 33. I went with Abdul Carter for them you went with Abdul Carter for them at number 2 overall. Quarterback obviously still an issue-ish for this team. I think I'm going to go Omarion Hampton here. This is a team that needs to be so much better on the ground. And
yeah, it's their identity.
Obviously, we're hoping that Nick Chubb, it's a great story that Nick Chubb's even made it back, right? I mean, that in and of itself is worth the clap, the standing ovation, all of that. But moving forward, I think they need that go-to running back to be able to
worth the clap.
What did I do?
Nothing, just a funny phrase.
It's worth the standing ovation, He wasn't the Nick Chubb of old, but he got back out there. It's worth the clap.
Go on.
Wasn't even trying for that one. Look, Omarion Hampton, I think, is one of the best backs in this class. And if we didn't have Ashton Genty here, I think we'd be talking about this football player as a special one and somebody that you would consider in the first round. We probably should be anyways. So Hampton's unbelievable. He's built like an NFL back. He's great in pass protection as well. You can see the rushing grades, the overall grades there on the screen, 88.7 in 2023, 88.2 in 2024. So that's with and without Drake May. This guy was a monster. So I'm going to go with Hampton for the Browns 33.
Yeah, no argument there. I mean, that's
worth the clap.
That's worth the clap. That's walking out of the draft with Abdul Carter and Omarion Hampton is like we just became the coolest team getting off the bus in the world.
Yeah, I mean, you better throw some more caddies in the workout facility because
I mean
you're gonna run out. You're gonna if these two are in the building same time as Myles Garrett. I mean, you're gonna run out of 45. So you better print some more.
Totally insane. All right, the Giants here at 34. You know, this to me is actually where let's take the risk for Benjamin Morrison, right?
Ooh, nice. I think that's appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah. This is if the hip checks out, we think he's going to get back to normal. I think Deonte Banks has been a little disappointing there. I think Drew Phillips, as we've talked about on this show, was played way above expectations. I still think the Giants need another corner for the long term. And Morrison just is a different identity player than what they've had in this defense in terms of his physicality and mindset and attitude. So I like swinging big for, upside at 34 here.
The Titans went with Cam Ward at number 1 overall. I'm going to give them Matthew Golden, the wide receiver from Texas, here at number 35. Trading DeAndre Hopkins away in the middle of the season sort of showed, hey, I mean, this team's really got to be totally retooled in the offensive weapons that they have. They obviously have Calvin Ridley, but Nick Westbrook-Akine, shout out. He was a touchdown monster, it felt like, for a good stretch of the second half of the season. But I think Matthew Golden becomes the immediate wide receiver 2 on this team, perhaps even the wide receiver 1. Maybe he even becomes Cam Ward's go-to option as a rookie. I think that Golden has all the talent in the world, man. And on a very talented Texas team, he was the guy that continued to impress me every single time. Elite getting off the line of scrimmage, really good route runner, great in contested catch situations, despite not being the biggest guy in the world. I think he brings the total package to the wide receiver spot. So Golden going to the Titans here at number 35 with Cam Ward at number 1.
All right, we'll keep moving. Jacksonville at 36. Let's get corner help after getting Mason Graham in the top 10. I'm going to go with Trey Amos here, Trevor. Get somebody that is sticky in coverage.
God, what a sick 1-2 for the Jags.
That's how you really beef up a defense that looked lost a lot last year. Amos was pretty solid this week. He understands how to match movements. He just shows off the short area athleticism you want to kind of stick with guys in one-on-ones and tough situations. And feels like Jacksonville, they just really need that number 2 corner that could do that for them.
Yeah, and he plays really great in man coverage with the longer arms and the forced incompletion production, like him and him on one side, Tyson Campbell on the other, and Jerry and Jones now in the slot. I mean, I think you got 3 really good cornerback options moving forward. So I like that combination for Jacksonville there. The Raiders at 37. Who'd you go with at 6? We went Will Johnson.
Will Johnson.
Okay. So you took Will Johnson, number 6 for this team. I certainly could go wide receiver for them. Let's see, who do we got at wide receiver? Elokayo Maynor, Xavier Restrepo, Jaden Higgins, Jack Besh, who we are getting off the board at some point. Might be getting off the board here. Running backs, their running game was now. This is a team that I think they got a good offensive line. I do. The offensive line's getting there. I think it's getting better. I think it's going to be even better this year. They did not have the playmakers at running back to be able to make a difference.
No, it was an awful revolving door.
Right. So Cam Scatabo is here. We know that he can basically do everything for you.
So is Caleb Johnson.
Caleb Johnson is still here. And Caleb Johnson, I think, well within the realm of possibility for him to be a second-round pick here as we start things on day 2. I like Dylan Sampson as well. But then there's the wide receiver talk. Do they have another pick? No, they don't. They're picking at 37, so they don't have another pick here.
They got the Jets' 3rd rounder for Devontae, not 2nd.
So then they got 2 third-round picks? that makes me feel good about them getting a back that they like in the third round.
Right.
Guy Maynard's here. It's basically Jack Besh or Caleb Johnson for me. I'm gonna be honest with you. Besh is unbelievable. If you ask me who is the biggest, I was gonna say like biggest winner of the Senior Bowl kind of implies some different things. If you tell me who had the best Senior Bowl week, it's Jack Besh. Every single day, this dude was a monster. Every single day. And it's hard to not watch him and just not think Chris Godwin. He's got the bigger size. He's got the size of Chris Godwin. You know, he can block. He can block close to the line of scrimmage. He's got that tight end background, so he can block close to the line of scrimmage. He can block for you in the slot. He's got good releases. He's got good handwork throughout the route, smooth movements, not afraid to catch over the middle, really good in contested catch situations. Now, he's not really a different type of receiver than what like Brock Bowers is, but he's another one. I think I'm gonna go Jack Besh here. I think I talked myself into it. Early second round. Chris Godwin got to the third round. NFL's not gonna make that mistake with Jack Besh. They're not. So I'm going Besh here at 37.
38. The Patriots, they need offensive line help after getting Travis Hunter in the first round.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with Jonas Savanaia.
Okay. All right.
I think he's a better guard at the next level, even though he got a lot of tackle looks at the Senior Bowl because he's got long arms.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like him to be a long-time guard. And I understand the Patriots need tackle help, but there's just no like you're taking projects across the board if you take a real tackle here. Like Cam Williams is a project. I like Ozzie Trapillo. Just a little early for me. Wyatt Milam's probably going to kick inside with his lack of arm length. Just get who you think could be the best offensive lineman available. I'll go Savanaia here.
Okay.
And maybe he gets a shot to try to develop a tackle there.
I was going to say this is going to be a long-term play for them.
Yeah.
By the way, for offensive tackle. So it's not like for just the offensive line. Like this is a multi-year thing for them. So you just take the best offensive lineman that you possibly can, I think. So Chicago, they've got 2 picks here, 39, and then they got 41. So I'm making both of these selections for them after you took Will Campbell for them at number 10. I think they'll do some work along the interior offensive line, so I don't think that we have to force that one here. I think I'm going to go running back and edge rusher. Like those are the positions, if we're building a little draft plan here for them, those are the 2 positions that I'm going to go for. It's just which one am I going to pick first? Which dude am I going to pick first? Think I'm going to go with Donovan Ezeraku here at number 39.
Okay. Get a little juice off the edge.
Yeah, I think he's a little further along than like, to me, Ezeraku is kind of what you wanted Austin Booker to be and what Austin Booker still could be, but now you have sort of a more finished version of that product that you're okay with. You play him right away. Austin Booker can kind of be that utility rotational edge rusher now with Montez Sweat and Donovan Ezeraku. A little bit smaller of his size, but really good run defender. Somebody who wins between the ears, has a great pass rush plan, some good juice, good inside move. Not the most powerful edge in the world, but somebody who really knows how to get in the backfield with 16 sacks this past season for Boston College. So Ezeraku, one of my guys, somebody I highlighted that I really like a lot in the edge rusher episode. I'll go with him at 39.
All right, so who did we have the Saints end up with in the
Shamar Turner.
Shamar Turner.
Or
that's right.
Shamar Stewart.
Shamar Stewart. Classic Shamar mistake.
I'm going to mess that up the entire draft season.
The classic. So maybe I take Shamar Turner here and just complete the...
Best friends, you know?
Yeah. You keep it confusing.
Kind of low moving costs for both of them.
Not the worst idea.
Close enough.
The Saints at 40 here.
Get him in a little budget truck, you know? Just load up one. Maybe just one moving truck for 2, you know? Just saying. Trying to spend money, they're in cap hell. I'm sorry. I'm stop being an idiot.
No, it's good. It's fine. I'm not mad. Do not put in the newspaper that I got mad.
I know.
So we've had...
Hell, I'm looking at the stats right now.
Just the best one ever. I've looked at the stats. Hell, I'm looking at the stats right now. Oh, man. I'm going to go wide receiver here for the Saints to help out Chris Olave, and obviously, hopefully, Rashid Shaheed gets healthy, but I still think they need another pass catcher in this group. I'm going to get them some size in Jaden Higgins, who I thought had a really nice bounce back day two. Like day one of the Senior Bowl, it was like, he's kind of, and there's a lot of rust on day one of the Senior Bowl for all these guys. They haven't played so many, besides Riley Leonard. Everybody hadn't played in felt like months. Riley Leonard gets dropped onto the field and is like, I've been doing this forever.
I did this last week.
I did this last week on the highest stage. It's nothing. Jaden Higgins, day two, you saw the tracking. You saw the ability to get open even at his size where he's 6'4", 212, the length. I think that's a really good compliment for Olave in the Saints offense.
So the Bears back on the clock here at number 41. I'm going to go to running back here.
Hell yeah.
I'll go Cam Scatabo.
Whoa.
I'm going to go with Scatabo here at number 41. Just an absolute monster. Not just this year, but in years prior as well. This has been somebody who, no matter what you put on his plate, he's been able to be exactly what they need. And he is, as a tackle breaker, just somebody who will give you absolutely everything he's got on every single carry. 93.2 overall grade this past season, 94.6 rushing grade, missed tackles forced 102. That was second in all of the FBS. This dude was just an animal, and I think he's a good receiver out of the backfield as well. He's somebody that I'm really impressed with. He's my third ranked running back that I have in this class, and I think the Bears are going to look to upgrade their offense, their running back room at some point in this draft here. So I'm gonna go Scatabo at 41.
Okay, Scatabo at 41, the Jets at 42. This one's pretty easy for me. I'm going to go with Tyleek Williams. After they got Tet McMillan in the top 10 to help out their offense,
nice.
Let's bring some beef next to Quinnen Williams. This run defense, especially on the interior, was terrible last year. You get one of the best two-gapping run stoppers in the draft in Tyleek.
Niners up at 43. Dominic Puni was great for them at guard. Aaron Banks got hurt, and he's a free agent upcoming. Trent Williams ain't gonna be around forever. Colt McKivic's playing out at offensive tackle for them. So there's thought to the offensive line, but I think TJ Sanders is the better pick here as the pass rushing 3 tech for Saleh's front. Now coming back on the defensive side of things, so it just felt as though this team was not as good as they needed to be in run defense. Like I would have thought about Tyleek Williams here for them because in run defense, they just were not what they needed to be here. But man, TJ looks so good day one.
A lot of power.
Senior Bowl practices. A lot of power, a lot more power than I thought he was going to play
Me too.
with. Really good. The one gap penetrating 3 technique type of style to him, that showcased itself as well. Really quick off the line of scrimmage. Sanders is somebody who I think absolutely deserves to be talked about in the top 50, and we're going with another Senior Bowl guy here at 43 for the Niners. Pairing 2 defensive players, going Jahdae Barron in the first round, and then TJ Sanders in the second.
All right. So bringing the beef for Saleh returning to the Niners. 44, the Cowboys. This may be the easiest pick I've made in the mock draft. I'm going with Caleb Johnson.
It all worked out. It all
worked out perfectly.
It all worked out.
Dallas got James Pierce. Not James Pierce Jr. They took a tackle. We had them. Can you go back to round 1? I'm all mixed up right now. I know we had offensive line for them.
Armand Membu, your boy.
They got Membu. That's right. And that was me, so I should have known that pick. Full transparency. You want to hear how I screwed this up?
I was wondering why. I was wondering why you were asking me to do it.
Listen to this. Yeah, I'm always honest on the pod. I did the mock on my laptop underneath my recording monitor with you. You're doing the mock for our screen, but I do it too so I don't lose track of the picks. I only clicked round 1.
Good.
So when we were done with round 1, while you were talking, I had to emergency fire up a 2-rounder again, click through all the players I knew we took, but didn't have time to put them to their spots. And I actually muscle memoried most of them.
Yeah, right.
But not that one.
Okay.
So Dallas gets Armand Membu and then Caleb Johnson, and their run game is now restored.
Yeah, God, that is a really good scenario for the Dallas Cowboys. In my
Unreal.
opinion. I
Maybe my favorite 1-2 in this draft so far.
Oh man, see it. It all worked out for the Colts too. It all worked out. You didn't have them taking Malachi Starks. You had them taking Tyler Warren here at number 14. And we got Xavier Watts still on
There it is.
here. Oh, man. Any corners tempting me away from this one? I don't think they're going to. Nope. Xavier Watts, just an unbelievable player here. 89.5 coverage grade. 5 forced incompletions. Just somebody who was always around the football, was always looking to make the biggest play. He has made some serious money over the last 2 years. So Xavier Watts from Notre Dame, really good 1-2 pairing here with Tyler Warren and Xavier Watts here for the Indianapolis Colts.
All right, the Falcons at 46. They got some pass rush help in round 1. Now,
James Pierce Jr. was
James Pierce Jr., which I know we had some debate over because they've taken a lot of pass rushers over the years, but this guy just has more pure pass rush ability than what they're typically accustomed to getting.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like with this one now, you kind of want to get some more help long-term on the back end. I'm intrigued by Darian Porter in this spot.
Yeah.
Just because he's got size and speed. Yeah, right? Miles per hour. What was he, 22 point something?
Almost 23 miles an hour. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, crazy. He's got size, length, and when you could run like that, it just brings so much athleticism to the back end of your defense. And now they've done that on the edge, and they've done that at corner.
I like the pick. I'm a big fan of Darian Porter. I think he's underrated right now in this draft class. I think that his best football is even ahead of him. I mean, you see the elite coverage grade. Yeah, the run defense grade's a little bit lower because he's a little bit more slender. But I think he's got a willingness to be a great run defender. So I
like the attitude too. I think it's a mindset thing.
Yep. I'm with you. I just think he's a good player. Cardinals up at 47. Now, we took Walter Nolan for them in the first round. I think they could still use D-line because, Roy Lopez, legend of the show, he's an upcoming free agent. He's obviously going to break the record for the highest paid interior defensive lineman of all time. LJ Collier's also a free agent coming up. Dennis Gardick's a free agent. Baron Browning's a free agent. Kaiser White's a free agent. Kyrus Tonga's a free agent. So, they'll bring probably some of these guys back. They do have B.J. Ojulari, who we didn't get to see this year due to injury. So I don't think they need edge. They have Darius Robinson, who they picked, obviously. So I think they're good there. I think we're all right there. Maybe look at an interior offensive line. I think that could certainly be a need for him. Maybe offensive tackle if somebody's standing out. You know what I think we might need to start to talk about here in round 2? I don't know if I'm going to take him. Maybe I will. Just talking it through. How good of a week did Anthony Belton have from NC State?
I was blown away.
He was awesome, man. They put him at tackle, but they put him at guard as well. I mean,
he looked good at both.
He stonewalled Donovan Ezeraku on his inside spin move.
Yep.
Beautifully this past week. So Wyatt Milam's on the board. He was a Senior Bowl guy as well. People were probably like, whoa, hold on. Why aren't you just taking Milam here? I think Milam can still be good. I think it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period for him to be a guard at the NFL level if you're going to have him be a guard. But I do think, that versatility could be good for Milam still. Maybe I should go with Milam. All right, we'll go Milam here. I'll go Milam here at 47. This is still a really good football player. I don't mean to make it sound like he's not. I mean, he's got the fantastic PFF grades this past season. He was an elite overall blocker. He struggled a little bit at the Senior Bowl because they were putting him in that new situation to be able to play guard, and because he's a little bit more upright, a little more of a lean body type, that's going to be more of an adjustment. But he is still a good offensive lineman. So I think second round, certainly well within the realm of possibility. Maybe not the first round like we thought potentially with Milam, but 47 here for the Cardinals, still going to be a good football player and upgrade their offensive line. So I'll go Milam.
All right, the Dolphins are back on the clock. They took Kelvin Banks to help out their offensive line in round 1. I'm going to go now on the interior of the defensive line here and go Derek Harmon. Get them some pass rush ability in this spot. Not a guy that we got to see, obviously, this week.
Bummer. Was really looking forward to seeing him.
Yeah, somebody that had a monster breakout year on the interior defensive line, was a highly productive pass rusher. With Javon Holland approaching free agency and them getting a little older on the back end, I did do a deep dive into secondary options here. The board just didn't break right for Miami in this spot.
So the Bengals now on the clock at number 49. I had them taking Malachi Starks at 17, and this is where I will take Anthony Belton, and I'm going to play him at guard. The Bengals
I love it.
Bengals got to be way better on the interior offensive line than they were this past season. There's going to be potential for upgrades to have been made there. It's Ted Karras in the middle. It's Alex Kappa at one of the offensive guard spots, and then who's the other guard? Now I gotta make sure that I say it before I pick a guy who might be replacing him out of respect.
No erasure.
Oh, Cordell Volson, Cody Ford, but Cody Ford's an upcoming free agent.
They could use the spot.
Yeah, we're going with Anthony Belton, who I was just floored with how good of a week he had at the Senior Bowl. So somebody who was regarded highly before the season, and I just didn't love his tape. But somebody who really surprised me in a great way in Mobile. So Anthony Belton off the board here, number 49.
All right, back on the clock here for the Seattle. And I did say when I gave them Nick Scorton, edge rusher, that I would come through with my promise to help their interior offensive line. And I am a man of my word, I like to think. I'm going to go. I think so.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. No, I'll give it to you.
That's actually that's scary. You said sometimes. Have I done you wrong?
I'll give it to you. No, you are.
Have I wronged
I'm trolling you. No, I'm trolling you.
No, sometimes in the mock drafts, I could definitely lose sight of my promises. I kind of intrigued here, Trevor, by Marcus Bowe from Purdue.
He's just so funny, man.
Did you
see the rep where I think Brandon Thorne tweeted this out, where he like fakes a jump set? So he almost like does this like, I don't even know how to explain it. He just explodes out of his stance and like fakes that he's going to like quick set or jump set him to immediately get hands on him. But his footwork is so nimble and he's so light on his feet.
Oh, it's crazy.
That he jumped all the way out there and then like backed up, like retreated, almost like backpedaled like a corner. And the defensive lineman was like, what just happened? So I am very intrigued by Marcus Bowe, whether it's tackle or maybe even guard center or something like that. So
I'm really intrigued by him on the interior of this offensive line. And it's nice that he played tackle because if Abe Lucas gets hurt again, now you have an insurance policy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for Seattle, they would give him a look at all three interior spots. So you're right. He's just a fun player to watch because he's a little unorthodox at the position and it works.
So Marcus Bowe to the Seattle Seahawks at number 50. The Buccaneers now on the board at number 51. I had them taken Savon Ravel at number 19, the cornerback from East Carolina. Edge rusher, I certainly could still use edge rusher. See, I feel like the guy who's trending in the direction to be, man, I feel like I might have to just go with Princely no matter what. I was a little disappointed for Princely. Now, one, he showed up at 265 pounds, which Ole Miss had him listed at 255. And he's got really nice burst and bend that we've seen over the last couple of years, both at Florida and at Ole Miss. And I thought, because of how much burst and bend he had, I thought he was more like 245, like closer to 245 than 255. And he shows up at the Senior Bowl and he's 265. Now, he was too big at 265 in my opinion.
Yep.
He needs to lose weight. He needs to be a lot closer to like 250, but if he can give you some juice in pass rush, and his numbers were crazy this past year. 22.8 pass rush win rate, 91.4 pass rush grade, 90.9 in against true pass sets. So I'll go with Princely Umanmielen here just because he's got the numbers, but we got to get the weight figured out because he played too big at the Senior Bowl, and I think that's why we didn't see a lot more flashes from him. So I'll go with Princely here at 51 for the Bucs, though.
All right, 52, the Broncos. I had them take Colston Loveland in round 1.
Yep.
I don't think you need to stop with taking pass catchers here. Go back to the wide receiver. You have Cortland Sutton. You have Marvin Mims, who's had some really big flashes. Devon Vele. They have players here, but I still would like to add to this room. Now, this is interesting because you could argue this guy plays a little like Sutton. But how about Elikayo Manor here? Where, like, listen, Sean Payton wants to be a physical football team, and you got to block your ass off at wide receiver. You got to play above the rim. And now you have a guy that is maybe going to help even more at life after Sutton, but going to help also as a rookie and allow you to play the brand of football you're trying to.
Yeah, I mean, Sutton, Iomaner, and Colson Loveland on that offense is a really good pass catching group for Bo Nix. You'd probably need that separation guy at some point, but
I think Mims can be it if they really lean
that's true.
into
That's
it.
true. I might be.
But I know what you're saying, like a nuanced separator.
Yes.
I know what you're saying.
All right, we'll go out.
Well, I almost went Jalen Royals there, but I leaned back to the player that's a little higher.
You know who he could have gone? Guy who cooked all week long at the Senior Bowl.
Tez? I mean, there's the relationship with Bo.
I know, it's right there.
I think Tez will be the classic, he's 155 pounds. He's going to go in the third round, and then he just runs by people anyway.
So, yeah, I wonder what's going to happen there because I don't think Tez Johnson had as good of a Senior Bowl week as Tank Dell did.
I don't think so either.
And Tank Dell went in the third round.
That's what I'm saying. So
I do wonder where Tez Johnson ultimately goes because a lot of people looked at him this past week at the Senior Bowl and went, he was open every play, every single play that Tez Johnson was out there, he was basically open. And why don't you draft the guy who just gets open? And there's, some thought to that, but I don't think it's going to be in this range. I didn't think that we were going to get Tez Johnson here in the second round, but it is an intriguing player for the mid rounds, third and fourth round, stuff like that. So the Steelers, I gave them Luther Bird in the third because he fell to them in the first round. Now I feel like I really want to go to cornerback. We got anybody that Maxwell Harrison? Oh, Azareye'h Thomas. Yeah, I'm gonna go with
you are just
Azareye'h Thomas. This one makes a lot of sense for what the Pittsburgh Steelers want to do. He's a bigger type of a corner, 6'1", 6'2", 200 pounds. He plays that man coverage style. What I love the most about him during the Senior Bowl is day 3. You're playing a lot of close coverage stuff. You're playing a lot of red zone. It's a lot of man coverage situations. And I thought that he shined in those situations. And that's exactly where you want him to shine. And I felt like, some of his teammates, Jerry and Jones, Renardo Green at Florida State, like those guys were drafted lower than they probably should have been for what we saw from them as rookies. And I don't think the NFL will make that same mistake if they believe the same about Azareye'h Thomas. So I'll have him going in the second round, 53 to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I think is very much their type.
Chargers at 54. I'm going to have them take JT Tuimoloau. They got Ashton Genty in the first round to help that run game.
Nice.
Tuimoloau is good value at 54. Smart player, good hands.
I tried to get him off the board previously, but I didn't really find a spot for him.
I mean, hardball player through and through, and he knows a thing or two about this guy. Coached against him plenty of times. Tuimoloau is just a plug-and-play starter on the Chargers that need to get a little younger at edge in a couple places.
So I think I went Emeka Egbuka for the...
You did.
I did. Emeka Egbuka for the Green Bay Packers, and now they're back on the clock here. Man, cornerback, I think I'm going back to it. There's a lot of really good linebackers who are on the board right now. I feel like we're not getting them off the board, and we probably should be for their talent level. Second round's really where we start to have that conversation with them. But certainly here with the Packers having Quay Walker and Edger and Cooper, how Edger and Cooper played last year, nothing's gonna, we're not gonna be picking a linebacker here for Green Bay. I think Maxwell Harrison's probably their type. He's probably the kind of guy that they want. He's twitchy. He's got the long arms. About 6 foot, 6'1". He did not have a good year this past year, but the year before, the tape was pretty standout. And he has some good plays at the Senior Bowl this past week. I watched Zy Alexander, and right now I have Zy Alexander ranked ahead of him. I got eyes on him at the Shrine Bowl because he was there. I didn't necessarily see him get burnt. He just didn't stand out as much as I thought he was going to at that event. I thought he was going to be able to really separate himself as one of those man coverage defenders. But Maxwell Harrison is going to be the pick here for the Packers at 55.
All right, Packers get wide receiver and corner help, 2 of their biggest needs. Maybe you nailed it for the Packers here, Trevor. Not easy to do with 2 consecutive picks. The comments will tell us. 56 for the Bills. I had them take Jalen Walker in the first round to help the middle of their defense and also, give you maybe a little pass rush juice on passing downs. Now it feels a little bit more wide open, I think, in this spot. I kind of there's 2 ideas I like here. One, Omar Norman Lott to give them a little, rotational juice on the interior.
Big fan.
The other idea I want to know which one you like better. is I know they took Cole Bishop last year, but they still need help better. I think they need upgrades at safety, but beyond just him taking over.
Mm-hmm.
Do you take the swing on Kevin Winston Jr. coming off the injury, but was phenomenal in 2023?
Yeah, that's two good football players. Two really
Right.
good football players.
Keep in mind the Bills also pick at 62. So I feel like
I'd go D-line then here.
that's what I'm thinking. I'd rather just make
Yeah.
sure I get the D-line before that well kind of dries up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll take Omar Norman Lott for their interior.
Okay. All right. Omar Norman Lott, somebody who I think had a great year at Tennessee this past year, really high pass rush win percentage in their deep defensive line rotation. Didn't get to see a ton from him this week, unfortunately, at the Senior Bowl because he was walking out with an injury on day one. I don't believe he was out there at any other time throughout the week. So Omar Norman Lott to the Bills there at 56. Texans at 57. They got Nico Collins at wide receiver. But I hate to say it. I mean, they need another wide receiver, right?
Yeah, we don't know if Tank's going to play next year.
I mean, you don't know if Tank's going to play next year. You don't know what he's like when he's back out there. And even with him being as slender as he is, I mean, you just worry about long term, how long he's going to play in the NFL. And I hate saying that.
But you're being realistic.
15 years, right? But that's a really tough knee injury to come back from. And I really hope that he can. But you got to think about next year for this team. Restrepo feels like the obvious one for me. Just you're getting a player who's instantly impactful for your team, somebody who could be a reliable weapon for CJ Stroud. You have the Nico Collins, and then you have the underneath reliability with Restrepo, who's been so good over the last couple of years. So, you're bringing Stephon Diggs back as well, but he's coming off of, I can't remember, was it ACL tear or Achilles? One of the two. I think it was an ACL tear. But another major injury from Stephon Diggs as well. So I'm going to go with Restrepo. I'll take Restrepo here. We got to make sure that offense is where it needs to be. The defense was on fire, it felt like, this past year with DeMeco Ryans, and they'll make some defensive upgrades. But we'll go Restrepo, who, again, was one of the top Senior Bowl players that we had this week. Really stood out this week.
All right, the Panthers at 58. Had them take Mike Green in the top 10 to help their pass rush. Now going to look at wide receiver here for me. And I'm going to go with Jalen Royals from Utah State.
Okay.
We've seen Bryce have such a good rapport with Adam Thielen. And obviously, they're hoping to get more from Leggett next year, who had the wrist injury this year. But I still think they need another youthful piece at wide receiver in this room. And we're starting to get to the point of the wide receiver cutoff where I don't know if I'd want to wait till round 3 in this scenario. And I think Royals is just very skillful at getting open and has sticky hands to make plays with a timing quarterback like Bryce. I like the match here.
Royals had a couple of really good seasons, so I like the shout out there. He didn't stand out as much as I would have liked for him to at the Senior Bowl, but
he had a couple moments though where I was like, yeah, that's the guy that I expected.
So I took Josh Connerly Jr. for the Baltimore Ravens at number 59. Or sorry, at number 27, I believe, in the first round. Now they're back at number 59. Looking at potential wide receiver. I mean, Savion Williams would just be absolutely hilarious for them.
Imagine running a backfield of Lamar, Henry, and Savion.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
That's like actually an insane thought.
It's tempting. I might go with it. Dear. Because we got Nelson Aguilar is a free agent. I'm looking at it now. Tylan Wallace, a free agent. You got Tez Walker, who you're hoping it can turn into that deep vertical threat for you. But depending on how you feel about him, maybe you feel like Savion Williams could be that type of player. Even if he's not going to be a nuanced route runner, he can be just an overall offensive weapon for you. Defensive line. Are you happy with how Odafe and David Ojabo are kind of progressing there? They did draft Adisa Isaac the year before, so they're all right there. Corner, Brandon Stevens is a free agent coming up. TJ Tampa, you do still have, so he might be able to step in. I think they might need more corner depth though, but I don't love the corners we had left. Let me bring up the cornerback board. I mean, maybe this is a Kobe Bryant spot, depending on how how high
Two of the
think
lightest
he-
corners in the league starting for them.
Oh, but they're just feisty as
I know,
hell,
I know.
dude.
I love Nate Wiggins. You don't have to sell me on that.
I don't know if Kobe would go top 60.
I don't think he will. No.
I don't think so either, but I think he's like third round lock after how he played at the Shrine Bowl. Even at a $171, man. That dude was so much fun watching him lock down every receiver he basically went up against. I think I might go Savion. What about running back, though? They got Justice Hill. They have Keaton Mitchell, but he's coming off the ACL. Derrick Henry, I think he only signed a 2-year deal. So what? He's only there for one more year? Hey, shoot, maybe you believe Savion's a running back anyways.
I mean, sometimes I really do.
Quinshawn Judkins. I don't know if this is short-sighted. Ravens fans, let me know. I don't love how the board fell in a lot of other ways. I'm going to go with Dylan Sampson.
Okay.
I liked Dylan Sampson's tape more than I like TreVeyon Henderson's, certainly before the college football playoff began. But TreVeyon Henderson, it was a big time back and forth with me for how well he played in the college football playoff. You can see these rushing grades here: 85.6, 74.1, 69.8, 72.6. I felt like he was the version of the TreVeyon Henderson that we've always wanted him to be. We saw that in the college football playoff, and I loved it. But I do still have Dylan Sampson ranked a little bit higher. He's got so much juice to him. He had a great year this past year. So I'll go Dylan Sampson at 59 to give them maybe the heir apparent to Derrick Henry and instead just an incredible backfield until then.
The line's at 60. This one's a little tricky, right? Because obviously this team is pretty loaded. They just got hit with injury on defense.
You want Michael
Williams, the edge rusher from Georgia, in the first round.
I wonder if they'd go linebacker.
I was kind of thinking that too. Like, give yourself some depth in the middle of the field.
Right.
Because that's actually how the board broke for them here.
I know.
Where you look at it and you go, like, Jihad Campbell's still on the board.
Right. I mean, like, Campbell and Demetrius Knight, I feel like, are absolutely Lions-type players.
Yeah, I'm going to take Campbell. Improve their linebacker depth. They just had so many front seven injuries, so many defensive injuries this year. Campbell, at a minimum, can play packages for you out of the gate and eventually, be your long-term answer in the middle of the field.
Jack Sawyer went to the Commanders in the first round. Any wide receivers I love? No. What about corners? I think we took a lot of the good corners. Again, like, could go Zai. No. I just don't love any of the corners here. Odell Fortune, shout out, had a pick 6 in the Shrine Bowl. Love that. Noel Williams, I thought had a really good week at the Shrine Bowl as well. I think he's going to be a riser for me, and we're going to talk about him more as probably a late day 2 pick type of a player. Quincy Riley had a really nice Senior Bowl week. I thought he played very, very well. Upton Stout is somebody who I also think that I'm going to raise up the board. I thought that he played very, very well this past week at the Senior Bowl too, but not players that you're thinking about here at number 61. Instead, let's go to the offensive line. I think I might go Ozzie Trapillo here, but that's only if you feel good about moving Wiley inside.
Yeah, I think that.
No, Donovan Jackson. Nah, Donovan Jackson after
Jackson's a really good player.
Yeah, Donovan Jackson after the college football playoff that he had, especially with Sam Cosmi tearing his ACL. I mean, you need a good interior offensive lineman that you can lean on. So Donovan Jackson, somebody that was a riser throughout the college football playoff, being able to play at left tackle and survive very well there. That's a perfect pick for them if they can get him in the second round. They probably, I don't know if they can after the performance and the run that Jackson had in the college football playoff. But shoot, getting Jack Sawyer and Donovan Jackson, that's 2 of Ohio State's best players on their national championship run.
Yeah, that's a good call. That was somebody that should not get lost through the shuffle. All right, so Donovan Jackson goes to the Commanders, who needed offensive line help. The Bills, I kind of get the best of both worlds here. I got Omar Norman Lott with my previous pick. That was between him and Kevin Winston Jr. I'm going to take Winston Jr. here. I thought over the summer he was the best safety in the draft. He had a season-ending injury, so you're getting a significant injury discount here. I think the Bills need to be better on the back end. And they had a lot of health question marks as well, too. But I think Winston Jr. is an incredible tackler. good instincts. I think he fits all the very high-end mental responsibilities that are required of you in McDermott's defense. And I love the landing spot for him where they have some guys that could play right away if he needs to still get right health-wise.
He goes at 63. We went with Tyler Booker here at 31. Not really a wide receiver that I love in this spot. I think Landon Jackson could make a ton of sense for them as like their type of edge rusher. Kyle Kennard, Jordan Birch. Man, Jordan Birch actually might make the most sense for them.
Right.
And we didn't get to see Jordan Birch this past week
No.
at the Senior Bowl. I also like the idea of them taking Nick Emanwari and just having him like, hey,
raise hell,
safety, linebacker, raise hell, right? You know, that's
really like his position. It's like, hey, just go cause destruction.
I know, man. I would love, so if they don't address defensive line here, if we were doing a 3-round mock, I would love for them to get Ahmed Hassanin, who was a big time standout at the Shrine Bowl, one of my favorite guys that I watched that week. He is somebody who I think was great as well. We've got actually, never mind.
Yeah,
I
totally
know
changing it up.
I know who they're going with. Somebody who's way too low on my board right now, and he is going to shoot up. Darius Alexander.
What a week. Holy smokes.
This dude showed up 6'3", 300 pounds, 34-inch arms, just looks the part of an NFL player. He had one of the best weeks of anybody at the Senior Bowl. He was a monster as an edge rusher, and they played him on the interior as well. He was one of the highest graded players that we had in the country this past year at Toledo, 90.2 overall grade. I'm glad I thought of this. I'm glad we got him in here because he is absolutely, I think, in the running for being a second-round pick, especially to a team like Philadelphia. Tyler Booker and Darius Alexander, perfect for Philly as a 1-2 combo.
Well done by you. Would have been a miss on the show if we didn't talk about the week he had down there. You just get, if you've seen some of the practice tape floating around online, if you weren't down in Mobile, it's impressive, undeniably. All right, the Chiefs here at 64 had them go Ariante Ursary.
Yep.
At the end of the first round. Oh man, this is actually a tricky one to end on here. I don't know if shock you, but I think you're going to be like, oh. I'm going to have them take Travion Henderson here.
Oh.
Because they don't have that kind of running back right now. Pacheco came back from the injury.
Oh.
And just never really got going. And to be fair, it was a significant injury.
Yeah, right.
Kareem Hunt, it's amazing how he does this. But you're not like, Kareem Hunt's the future of our backfield. And even if you had Kareem Hunt come back and Pacheco healthy, the way you use Travion is totally different than those guys. This is the home run hitter.
Sure.
This is the guy
absolutely.
This is the guy that runs the wheel route, motion him out wide in the slot, outside zone, pitch plays. Andy Reid cooking with gas with Travion Henderson in the backfield. The way it stresses the edges of the defense and the fact you don't need to use him 35 times a game in this offense. I just had to have this fit.
All right. Travion Henderson, last pick of the draft here. I will take a deep breath and I will read all of these picks
You are a good man.
Because I love the audio only listeners. At number 1 of this mock draft, we had the Tennessee Titans taking quarterback Cam Ward. Cleveland Browns at number 2, Abdul Carter, the edge rusher from Penn State. Number 3, the New York Giants took Shadur Sanders. Number 4, the New England Patriots took Travis Hunter. Number 5, the Jags took Mason Graham. Number 6, the Raiders took Will Johnson. Number 7, the Jets took Tetairoa McMillan. Number 8, the Panthers, Mike Green. Number 9, the Saints, Shamar Stewart. Number 10, Will Campbell to the Chicago Bears. Number 11, San Francisco 49ers took Jahdae Barron. Number 12, Armand Membu to the Dallas Cowboys. 13, Miami Dolphins, Kevin Banks Jr. 14, Tyler Warren to the Indianapolis Colts. You are an Indianapolis Colt. 15, Atlanta Falcons, James Pierce Jr. 16, Walter Nolan to the Arizona Cardinals. 17, Malachi Starks to the Cincinnati Bengals. 18, Nick Scorton to the Seattle Seahawks. 19, Siobhan Ravel to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Colson Loveland at number 20 to the Denver Broncos. 21, Luther Burden to the Pittsburgh Steelers. 22, Ashton Genty To the Los Angeles Chargers, 23. Green Bay Packers, Emeka Egbuka, 24. Minnesota Vikings, Kenneth Grant, 25. Greg Zabel to the Houston Texans, 26. Josh Simmons to the Los Angeles Rams, 27. Josh Connerly to the Ravens, 28. Michael Williams to the Lions, 29. Jack Sawyer to the Commanders, 30. Jalen Walker to the Buffalo Bills, 31. Tyler Booker to the Eagles, 32. Ariante Ursary to the Kansas City Chiefs. That was round 1. And then round 2 to kick us off, we had the Cleveland Browns taking Amari and Hampton at 33. Benjamin Morrison to the Giants at 34. Matthew Golden to the Titans at 35. Trey Amos to the Jags at 36. Jack Besh to the Raiders at 37. Jonas Savanaia to the Patriots at 38. Donovan Ezaraku to the Bears at 39. Jaden Higgins to the Saints at 40. Cam Scatabo to the Bears at 41. Tyleik Williams to the Jets at 42. TJ Sanders to the Niners at 43. Caleb Johnson to the Cowboys, 44. Xavier Watts to the Colts at 45. Darian Porter to the Falcons at 46. Wyatt Milam to the Cardinals at 47. Derek Harmon to the Dolphins at 48. Anthony Belton. I almost said Anthony Beck. That would have been impressive if he was getting drafted again. Anthony Belton to the Cincinnati Bengals. Could use tight end at number 49. Marcus Bowe to the Seattle Seahawks at 50. Princely Monmiel to the Bucks at 51. Alec Oyumaner to the Broncos at 52. Azareye'h Thomas to the Steelers at 53. JT Tuimoloau to the Chargers 54. Maxwell Harrison to the Packers 55. Omar Norman-Lott to the Bills 56. Xavier Restrepo to the Texans 57. Jalen Royals to the Panthers 58. Dylan Sampson to the Ravens at 59. Jihad Campbell to the Lions at 60. Donovan Jackson to the Commanders at 61. Kevin Winston Jr. to the Buffalo Bills at 62. Darius Alexander to the Eagles at 63. And then Travion Henderson to the Kansas City Chiefs at 64. There it is. We would love to hear from you guys. We had so many Senior Bowl thoughts that we tried to get here in this show. But so many more thoughts that we could have on the Senior Bowl that we would love to hear from you guys. Let us know what you thought of the mock draft picks. But also, if you have Senior Bowl or Shrine Bowl questions, fire them off into the chat. I will, over the next really 3 or 4 days, try to go through all of them and answer as many as I possibly can. So let us know what you thought of the mock draft picks, what guys that you thought were big time risers, where you think they could go, if we're too low, if we're too high, everything. Best way to do that, youtube.com/NFL Stock Exchange. If you want to hit us up on Instagram and Twitter, you can do so at Tampa Bay Trey, at Connor J. Rogers. Also, please follow the show on Instagram and TikTok. It's just at NFL SE Show. We're trying to build that out and have all sorts of short form content for you guys there as well. Connor, anything else before we get out of here?
A lot of fun. I like doing the 2-rounder because it starts to show like players you're just not picturing going, or players that you constantly think will go in the first 2 rounds and you just don't have a place for them.
Right.
It's just a good exercise to realize that good players fall. Sometimes players at a premium position just shoot up into the board because of how dire the needs are. It's such a good exercise to kind of wrap your head around the team building process. So I loved this, man. Let's get you out of Mobile and home for 24 hours before we're both sitting together in New Orleans. Absolute corpses at this point, rocking and rolling.
I was gonna say people who are disappointed that we weren't doing the show together for this one. We'll probably do at least one show together when we're in New Orleans for Super Bowl
we
coverage,
slept in bunk beds at the Mobile Hotel. We got to the courtyard and said, they go, oh yeah, it's got 2 beds. We know, are they bunk beds?
So much more room for activities.
Yep.
So, of course, it's just economically friendly right there. Appreciate everybody watching and listening. This is the first multi-mock of many that we are going to do over the next couple of months, covering this draft as best we possibly can for you guys. Shout out to everybody who came up to us at Shrine Bowl and Senior Bowl. I mean, whether you were media or just like a fan hanging around that week, we got to meet so many of you, and it's just so damn cool when you guys kind of come up to us and tell us, hey, man, really love the show, really love NFLSC. Some of you were like, hey, NFLSC, and is why I really wanted to get into scouting. It means the world to us. It's so cool to hear stuff like that. It's great to see you guys at those events as well, making your own waves in the industry. So shout out to everybody that we were able to meet over the last week or so. For Connor Rogers, I'm Trevor Sikkema saying thank you guys so much for watching and listening to the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. We'll see you guys next time.